It's all great, it's just, to be able to do what we love to do every day, like that's an incredible blessing. And I learn something from every session. There's always a highlight in every session.
Pharrell Williams is known on a global scale for his Grammy-winning work as a hip-hop and R&B musician and producer. Pharrell didn't only change the face of pop music beginning in the late 90s, he also was one of the faces of pop music, as a charismatic star who often stole the show when producing or featuring on other artists' hit singles.
So Pharrell has established himself as the producer to go to in the industry, but you can see that his solo career is also really taking off.
Nothing can stop this guy. Everything he's put his mind to, he has achieved. The sky is the absolute limit.
His presence was unfading, whether he was the one billed at the top or the one behind the beat.
So when you're working so hard, physically and mentally, because remember, you also have to create. You're not just this is not a Broadway play where you learn your lines. You have to create that stuff.
Pharrell Williams and Chad Hugo make up the record production duo The Neptunes. Pharrell is also the lead vocalist and drummer of rock, funk, and hip-hop band N.E.R.D.
Doing what I do, I have to be selective. I gotta make sure that when I do something that the DNA of it it's the right thing. It agrees with who I am as a person and aligns is parallel to my purpose.
It seems there is no limit to his musical genius and creativity. Follow the story of one of music's modern-day greats, Pharrell Williams. Pharrell Williams is responsible for giving music lovers a multitude of classic hits to listen to over the past 15 years. The multi-award-winning artist has worked alongside and produced music for some of the biggest names in the industry, including Britney Spears, Justin Timberlake, Ludacris, Kylie Minogue, Usher, Snoop Dogg, and many more.
I know you gon' lose it. Just Snoop shit. Come on, baby, move. You got to get into it. Now go fool with the player with the cool with. Yeah, you know I'm always on that cool shit. Walk to it and do it how you do it. And have a glass, let me put you in the mood. So cute and looking like a student. Long hair with your big fat booty. Now back in the days, you was a girl I went to school with. I had it to your mom and sister to cool it. The girl wanna, I just might. So I hit her off with some pimp influence. Mommy, don't worry, I won't abuse it.
While only in his early 40s, Pharrell has already managed to become one of the most influential hitmakers in music history, earning comparisons to legends like Quincy Jones.
I'm very humbled by this moment. I'm super thankful. And, it's also nice to share the night with Quincy, because Quincy Jones is everything that he's everything that every producer wants to be when we grow up. We want to be like him. Like, his music touches people, his music moves culture, his music has effectively changed the world decades in and decades out. And I only aspire to, have the music that Chad and I make, one day stand somewhere near his music and his work. And so to share this evening with him is an incredible, incredible, incredible honor. So thank you to the ASCAP family and Q, and thank you guys so much.
A survey in 2003 found that Pharrell was responsible for producing 43% of the songs played on U.S. radio, a staggering figure.
So Let me sum up how much of an impact that the Neptunes had on producing. A survey found that 20% of the songs in the British charts were produced by them. In America at that time, the statistic was 43%. Almost half of everything on the charts made by this dynamic duo.
So anything that they had produced or written or collaborated on, these are huge numbers. To be able to, brag about those numbers is incredible, especially back in 2003.
Are there no other producers here in Hollywood? Ridiculous, but it's just a sign of their incredible talent and reach and their hard work. Does Pharrell ever take a day off? I mean, really?
We do really work hard, and we're like on the road all the time. And you know what? I'm so exhausted. I don't know if this is I don't know if you've seen Fight Club. I don't know if these guys are imaginary on stage right now and I'm really sleeping, or I'm really in a press conference right now. Because we're exhausted. We're overly worked. And because, the recession is where it is right now, we definitely got to work a lot harder. And so when, we ask for a ton of money, it's because we are spending our time. See, what people don't realize is that, after this press conference, you'll either go back to your day job or you'll go home and do whatever you got to do. We have to continue to do this 15, 16 hours a day. So when you're working so hard, physically and mentally, because remember, you also have to create. You're not just this is not a Broadway play where you learn your lines. You have to create that stuff. So when we ask for the money that we ask for, it's because we're really working hard.
Throughout his illustrious career, Pharrell has worked with many artists, and he is known for trying to get the best out of each and every one, pushing them to achieve their musical potential.
So working with Pharrell, is it, when you work with someone of that sort of popularity, is it sort of make you intimidated, or do you feel like you have to raise your game a bit, or was everything cool?
I feel like you got to raise your game a bit, definitely.
Yeah.
But he was very he's got a lot to say. He's got a lot of advice to give. So there was never really a point where I felt uncomfortable and felt it was very open and comfortable environment.
What were some of the things that he said?
He just really wanted us to really meet. There was one point where one song that we did, I wrote the verse and he was just like, come on man, I don't really feel it. I don't really feel like you mean this kind of thing. And he really drove me to proper say something quite real, which was good.
Your crazy world. When you're actually doing this, you're going, why am I doing this again? Does that sort of go through your head?
Yeah, no, I have to be honest. He was I decided to do it because Pharrell. I met Pharrell in an airport in Australia, and he came to me and he says, "Are you Mr. Hoizo? Yeah, I love your stuff, and you should bring back Flat Eric because everybody missed him." So because Pharrell asked, I decided to ask him, "Okay, you want Flat Eric back? So come on and help me bring it back."
One pair of training shoes.
So we shot this little short in 2 days.
One see-through cassette. And that's it.
And it was supposed to be, I don't know, something like a teaser, and we were trying to create some kind of a buzz, to see if people were still interested in Flat Eric.
In 2014, Pharrell released his second studio album, Girl. The album received rave reviews from music critics. It debuted at #1 on the UK Albums Chart and #1 on the Billboard 200 chart in the USA.
And it had been a long time since we had seen a single album from him, or solo album. And it was one of those things that did really well. It was #1 in many countries. And he worked with lots of artists on this. He worked with JT again. He worked with Daft Punk. So again, he's continuing to collaborate with artists.
So Pharrell's second solo album, Girl, marked a real musical progression for him. This was a step away from the hip-hop, the comfort zone of that, and an extension more into the pop mainstream. He dipped his toe in the water with that with Happy, and there were some more sort of happy songs here. So it wasn't so much the gangsters and the hoes, it was more like the beauties and the babes and the bopping around. So it took an interesting step in a different direction and just demonstrated his incredible versatility.
There is no doubt that Pharrell has been one of the most influential figures in pop music over the past 2 decades, and his journey began with humble roots. Pharrell Williams was born on April 5, 1973, in Virginia Beach, Virginia, the oldest of 3 sons of Pharrell Williams, a handyman, and his wife, Carolyn, a teacher.
And music, a huge influence in his childhood, and yes, just as well, because what a career he's made out of it.
In the 7th grade, Pharrell met Chad Hugo at a summer band camp where Williams played the keyboard and drums, and Hugo played tenor saxophone.
Probably the most defining moment of Pharrell's life comes when he's 12 and he meets Chad Hugo at a summer camp, and they bonded over their love of music, started playing instruments together, formed a firm friendship.
Pharrell, he was playing keyboards and drums. Chad Hugo was also playing the saxophone. Together they really shared a love of music, and they formed the Neptunes, which was a very successful group, not only for them, but also they became successful producers.
They were also both members of a marching band. Pharrell played the snare drum, while Chad Hugo was a student conductor. Pharrell's friendship with Chad Hugo was the start of a musical journey to superstardom for the duo.
They partied at the end of the summer, they went to different schools, but they stayed in touch over the years, and certainly that is a relationship which has continued and been one of the most dynamic partnerships in music history.
In the early 1990s, Pharrell and Chad formed a 4-piece R&B group, the Neptunes, with friends Shay Haley and Mike Etheridge. They later entered a high school talent show where they were discovered by Teddy Riley, whose studio was next to Pharrell's high school.
So Pharrell and Hugo form a band called the Neptunes. They perform at a high school talent show. You never know who's in the audience, do you? Well, one of the judges was Teddy Riley, a major music producer. He was blown away by the talent of these 2 kids. Said, "Kids, I'm gonna make you stars."
So Chad and Pharrell were discovered by Teddy Riley. Now, Teddy Riley is a Grammy Award-winning record producer and musician. He's worked with everyone from Michael Jackson to Dougie Fresh to Keith Sweat. He had studios right next to Pharrell's high school, so they were able to meet him and he signed them.
After graduating from high school, the group signed with Riley. Through working with Riley, Williams went on to write a verse and help produce for Rex and Effect's 1992 hit Rump Shaker.
So the Neptunes really started to work with other groups, producing their records and everything, and one of their biggest hits was Rump Shaker from Rex and Effect in 1992. And working with musicians like this and getting them on the charts really helped them establish their name in the music industry.
That same year, he also performed a small rap solo on SWV's second hit, Right Here. In 1994, Chad Hugo and Williams had established themselves as a production duo under their old name, the Neptunes, and assistant produced Tonight's the Night from Blackstreet's self-titled album. Over the next 3 years, they continued to produce occasionally, and some of their results had little resemblance to the sound the Neptunes would later be known for. They went on to produce Mace's 1997 song, Lookin' at Me, from his album Harlem World. And the most definitive beginning of the distinctive Neptune sound came with NORE's Super Thug in 1998. The song quickly became one of the hottest hip-hop tracks of the year, reaching number 36 on the Billboard Hot 100. Perhaps more importantly, Super Thug created a major buzz in the industry, and the Neptunes reaped the rewards by receiving offers to work with A-list talent like Mary J. Blige, Busta Rhymes, Mariah Carey, and Justin Timberlake. In 1999, a mutual friend introduced Pharrell to Khalees, and their resulting collaboration produced her first album, Kaleidoscope.
The Neptunes produced her debut album, Kaleidoscope. That was another climb up the ladder for them, and maybe a step up the ladder into the pop world, which is very much where they had their eyes on for their big next move.
Her album came out. It did well in the UK. It topped at number 43 on the charts. It didn't do as well on the international market, but the good news is just working with Khalees really helped their reputation.
At this point, the Neptunes were gaining a wide fan base and audience.
The Neptunes suddenly became the most dynamic duo since Batman and Robin. They were writing and producing for a string of artists. They were prolific, they were professional, they were hugely successful, and they basically became the sultans of hip-hop. You know, they carved out themselves as the go-to partnership in that world.
In 2001, the Neptunes produced Britney Spears' single, I'm a Slave for You, gaining their first worldwide #1.
Some people would say the greatest record of all time is Imagine by John Lennon. You could maybe make a case for Let It Be, even Too Shy by Kajagoogoo. But to me, I'm a Slave for You by Britney Spears is the greatest moment in the history of recorded sound. And a lot of that has to do with Pharrell and the Neptunes, who produced it.
I mean, she was at the height of her fame. This was kind of an amazing opportunity for them. They did the song, I'm a Slave for You. It was the first #1 worldwide hit, and this was huge for them, and it was huge for Britney.
Fantastic video as well. Britney writhing around, the snake writhing around her. It all went together in the perfect storm of showbiz magic.
So in the video, I'm a Slave for You, it is old school Britney. So we're talking hot, we're talking sweaty, we're talking sexy. You see Britney dancing out there, doing tons of choreography, all done in a gorgeous amber light.
And and Pharrell, had his finger very much involved in that project as well. He was a rising star in the industry. He'd hitched his wagon to Britney Spears. They were at the top of the showbiz summit together.
Although producing songs for others was gratifying in its own way, the duo ultimately hungered to leave their own imprint. Pharrell Williams, Chad Hugo, and Shay Haley created their own up-tempo rock band called NERD, an acronym standing for No One Ever Really Dies.
So at this point, Hugo and Pharrell remind themselves that they're not just behind-the-scenes guys, they are performers themselves as well. They want their own identity in the music business as well as all this producing behind the scenes. So they form a band called NERD, where they have a very specific sound, maybe different from the other stuff that they were doing. And that really sort of planted a footprint in the music industry for them for performers, not just producers.
Their debut album, In Search Of, sounded very much like the previous production work.
The interesting thing is their album In Search Of sounded too much like the Neptunes, and it didn't do that well even over in Europe. So it was one of those things that they had to take a step back and think, how are we going to differentiate our sound of nerd that's different from the Neptunes?
The group decided that they should make their work as nerds sound different and re-recorded the album.
And they used the backing production values of Spy Mob. And what they wanted was more of a rock-oriented sound because their previous album, which was the same thing, In Search Of, just sounded too much like the Neptunes.
In 2002, their re-recorded album was released worldwide. It was a slickly produced 12-track album with a distinctive funk rock vibe. The album featured the single Lap Dance, which was ranked number 93 on VH1's 100 Greatest Songs of Hip Hop.
NERD had a very successful first single with Lap Dance and a very successful video as well. It's your basic hip-hop setup. It's Pharrell. He's rapping with loads of gorgeous babes behind him, sort of half naked, getting jiggy with it and doing the moves. It was your classic video, but that didn't hide the fact that the music was pretty damn good as well.
So the single Lap Dance did pretty well in the US. For rap songs, it made it up to number 29 on the charts. In the video, it's exactly what you think it is. It's the group surrounded by half-naked ladies dancing around. So it's a lot of fun, but it definitely gives you an idea of rap videos in the industry. It's always lots of pretty ladies.
Although the album failed to find a mass audience, Nerds still received plenty of accolades that year when they were named Producers of the Year at the Source Awards and the Billboard Music Awards.
Suddenly, the Neptunes had the trophies to go with their talent. In 2002, they were named Producers of the Year at the Billboard Music Awards and the Source Awards, touching the hip-hop world and the mainstream pop world as well.
This established them as the producers to go to in the industry. You want a big hit? You're going to go and you're going to talk to Chad and you're going to talk to Pharrell, because they are going to make your music a huge success.
And it was pretty much an acknowledgement from the industry that these are the guys, these are the hit makers, they're incredible.
That same year, the Neptunes reached number 1 in the US with Nelly's single Hot in Here.
I remember chatting to Nelly in the Bahamas at the World Poker Championships, as you do, and we were talking about his breakthrough hit Hot in Here, and he was saying how much Pharrell had been a huge influence on him producing that great song, and what a great video it was as well. Really put Nelly on the map.
It was a number 1 single in the United States, and if you take a look at the video, you know what you're getting. It's hot in here, and everyone's taking off all their clothes in the club.
It's getting hot in here, so take off all your clothes. I am getting so hot, I wanna take my clothes off.
And it further established Pharrell as the go-to guy, the rising star, and pretty much the man when it came to producing hit songs.
The Neptunes released the self-credited album called The Neptunes Present Clones in 2003, with songs and remixes from artists such as Busta Rhymes, Snoop Dogg, and Nas. The album topped the US Billboard 200 Albums chart.
The Neptunes are very clever to remember that even though they're getting all these offers as the top producers, they are performers as well. So they release an album called The Neptunes Presents, which is a remix of various classic songs and their favourites. And it only gets to number 1 in the Billboard charts because that is Pharrell. He just gets behind a microphone and the magic buttons and magic comes out. There was just no stopping him. He was on a rocket ship to the moon of showbiz.
The Neptunes were also kept in the public eye due to ties with rap superstar Jay-Z, producing several hit singles for him and 2 tracks from the Black Album.
Jay-Z is just, at the time in his music career, he was just at the top of the charts. This was so high profile for the Neptunes to be collaborating with him, and for the two of them to be making music, it made some fans that weren't aware of the Neptunes or Nerd or anything else, they realized, oh, these guys are something because they're working with Jay-Z.
Working with Jay-Z today is like working with Frank Sinatra back in the day. He is the man, the chairman of the board, and of course he's going to seek out the best, and the best he seeks out to work with is Pharrell. I mean, it's an incredible thing in show business when you get an acknowledgement from the number 1 guy, and they work so well together. They partnered on several hits, and so the Sinatra of hip-hop meeting up with the producer of the decade, how could it miss? It didn't.
Yeah, and I'm supposed to tell you about but they said don't talk about it. Yanley said don't. Why? I don't know. Okay. And then, I just realized that I could talk about it. And then there's also NERD, the new No One Ever Really Dies album.
Oh, really? When is that coming out? Or is just working on it?
Yeah, we're almost done with it.
Any cameos?
Huh?
Cameos?
I don't really want to let the cat out of the bag right now about, exactly what we're doing. But
Can you guys sign over?
Yeah.
Hold on. Oh, can you guys hold it? Thank you very, very much.
Nerd's second funk rock-oriented album, Fly or Die, was released in March 2004 and included the hit single, She Wants to Move.
So in Nerd's video, She Wants to Move, they really went all out. They are bathed in stars and in red light. They've got their gorgeous gal that's dancing with people watching on multi-levels. You know, in the end, Pharrell takes off with a girl right there on the bike. So it's hot, it's sexy, and they're proving they've got the swag.
Be it, Mister. Your girl, she loves it. I can see it in her eyes.
She Wants to Move managed to reach the top 5 in the UK charts, top 10 in New Zealand, top 20 in Norway, Ireland, and Denmark, and top 40 in Australia. Fly or Die went on to sell over 500,000 copies in the US. The band also recruited some assistants to record the album, with Lenny Kravitz playing guitar on the track Maybe. Several of the tracks concern issues of particular concern to adolescents, including Thrasher about bullies, Drill Sergeant about rebellion and conscription, and Backseat Love about first loves. Pharrell's rock credentials were further boosted by his appearance at the 2004 Grammy Awards, when he played the drums during a cover performance of the Beatles' I Saw Her Standing There. Pharrell went on to receive 2 Grammy Awards that night, one for Producer of the Year and another for Best Pop Vocal Album for his work on Justin Timberlake's hit album, Justified.
The 2004 Grammy Awards was basically quickly turning into Pharrell Williams' celebration night, a total love-in for him. Not only did he sing on the ceremony, performing the Beatles' I Saw Her Standing There, but he also picks up 2 awards for producing Justin Timberlake's incredible album, Justified. So, you know, he was up on the stage more than the host that night. It was completely ridiculous, but completely, to quote Justin, justified.
Now, this is really important because this is Justin Timberlake moving out of his boy band years and establishing himself as a solo artist, and Pharrell helped him along the way. So this was big for JT, but this was also big for Pharrell.
In September 2004, Pharrell was featured on the Snoop Dogg single Drop It Like It's Hot. The song eventually peaked at number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 2 months later, making it Snoop Dogg's first number 1 in the United States. It was also his first top 10 hit since 1994's Gin and Juice. The song also gave Snoop Dogg his first number 1 on the Hot R&B Hip Hop Songs chart. It also peaked at number 1 for 4 consecutive weeks in New Zealand and number 10 in the UK singles chart. The song gained some critical attention for its very sparse production, which is essentially just tongue clicks, keyboard, and a drum machine beat, which compared to much early 2000s rap, which was very minimalist. It was nominated at the 2005 Grammy Awards for Best Rap Song and Best Rap Performance. The song was named Rap Song of the Decade by Billboard in 2009.
Snoop Dogg, Pharrell released Drop It Like It's Hot, which became Pharrell's first number 1 hit that he had as an artist. It did extremely well, and it's been named one of the top rap songs of the decade.
So when I'm watching the video for Snoop Dogg and Pharrell's Drop It Like It's Hot, and they're sort of rolling along there with all the honeys, I so wanted to be in the car with them. I mean, you watch that video, it's like, okay, those are so cool, those guys. I will never be that cool. I've never felt so English in all my life. But videos in a way are wish fulfillment, and yeah, you're selling a fantasy. And wow, how I wanted to be in that car, hanging out with the guys, checking out the girls. Fantastic.
Drop It Like It's Hot is done in black and white. It's exactly what you would expect, especially out of Snoop Dogg. There's lots of bling, there's lots of weed images, there's lots of girls, but it's done kind of on a stark background and just gives you an idea of what Snoop Dogg is really like.
Get an attitude. Pop it like it's hot. Pop it like it's hot. Pop it like it's hot. I got the rollie on my arm and I'm pouring Sean down and I'm the best cause I got it going on.
In 2005, Pharrell Williams established clothing brands Billionaire Boys Club and Ice Cream. The lines consist of t-shirts, polos, hats, sweatshirts, suits, and shirts. Billionaires Boys Club has flagship stores in New York City and an official ice cream store in Tokyo, Japan. Several stores that retail Billionaires Boys Club and ice cream clothing exist across North America, the UK, and throughout Europe.
And fashion to me is how you feel at that time. It's who you are and where you're going. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't do that.
Everything is BBC. Ice cream, BBC hoodie, t-shirt, backpack, hat. Let me see what else I got. I got a couple other things in my bag that are BBC. I went all out.
Are you wearing it because you're supporting Pharrell?
Supporting Pharrell. That's my man. You know, I love the clothing lines. One of my favorite clothing lines ever. You know, I just love it. It's something different, and it's my look.
How is it different from other clothing lines that are out there, like Rockaware?
It's not like, in terms of on a fashion tip, like it's not like baggy fitting stuff that's like, you know, like you can get anywhere. It's mad exclusive, and a lot of people know about it now, but a lot of people, I wasn't wearing it before anybody knew about it, and Bape and all that stuff. So I mean, you know, I love it.
What kind of statement does it make when you wear clothes?
I mean, Billionaire Boys Club, when you see that like across a sweatshirt, people are like, oh, Billionaire Boys Club, what is it? Like, whoa, that sounds kind of hot. Like, I want to, you know, so I think it makes a pretty bold statement if you ask me.
I'm not so I can't talk about the differences. I can only tell you that, you know, we're all about individuality, and, you know, BBC and ice cream are brands that just welcome you if you just want to find a sense of identity, if it works for you. It's not for everybody. It's a small community of us who just want to, you know, it's all about self-expression.
Actually, Run DMC had a lot of great things to say about you, that he said that you were very classy, and he said it's going to do very well, and that he's out here to support the younger hip-hop generation.
Okay.
So what do you have to say to that?
I mean, he's the king of rock. I mean, what do you say? That's DMC. Like, can't believe he's here.
Yeah. And what are you working on now?
We're just basically working on all the new seasons. I mean, you know, being in the clothing business, you have to work on it year round. Mm-hmm. So we're just focused.
Right here, straight down the middle, guys. Guys, right up top. Right here, top right. Top right.
I think it has more of a unique significance, because you know, you look at Rockaware and G-Unit and Fat Farm and stuff like that. It's a thing that's just being done because rappers are able to do it for the people that like hip hop music. But this isn't just really marketed to rappers. This is just like, it has a more versatile appeal to people.
And you think it's going to do well just because of the owners who are backing it, for example? I mean, it always does well. Clothing lines always do well because of the names behind it. Like, it's done well in Japan and Hong Kong, right?
Right. Do I think that's the reason why? Because of the people? I think it's more if you got a good product. You can have the greatest name in the world, the best record, but if your product isn't worth it, people will know. You know what I'm saying? You could be the most famous person on the face of the earth, but if your product ain't real, if it doesn't appeal, if it doesn't feel good, if it doesn't make you feel good, if it doesn't give the perception that it's official, like if it ain't dope like a Run DMC record, then people ain't checking for it.
You want to talk about a little bit about the owners coming out to support them, Nigo and Pharrell Williams?
It's all good because they're real people, they're classy people, they're universal people. Like, you know, it isn't just about, hey, buy my stuff because we're hip hop. They appeal to people all across the world, skateboard, kids, Africans, Asians, Jewish people, it's all good.
All right, you want to talk about how you feel supporting the younger hip hop generation?
Excuse me?
Yeah, supporting the younger hip hop generation, what it feels like to support the younger hip hop generation now?
We have to support the younger hip hop generation because unlike what the old school people a lot of the peers for the younger people don't give people direction. Like when I was younger, to the left I had De La Soul, to the right I had Public Enemy, to the right I had Carousels One. Because the way the music industry right now, these younger generation only think what you see on the video and hear on the radio is the way to go. But hip hop isn't about that. Hip hop is you being you, me being me, because there isn't a generation gap between us. It's an information gap. That's why we got the microphone and the turntables. So you can tell me what you like, where you're from, and where you live. I'll tell you that, and then we can say, okay, where could we go together?
Pharrell's next major undertaking was titled In My Mind, his first solo album, a daring 15-track record released in July 2006.
It's called In My Mind. I pushed it back because actually I'm not finished yet, but I should be wrapping it up pretty soon. It's a monster. It's gonna eat away at the charts and at the girls' hearts.
Really?
Yeah.
How's that? How do you get to the girls' hearts? Come close.
I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know how you do it. I just know that like you just make good music. You make it from your heart and you try to be honest about it.
The album featured performances by Kanye West, Jay-Z, and Snoop Dogg. The album's debut single, Can I Have It Like That, featuring Gwen Stefani, did poorly in the US, reaching number 48. It fared better in the UK, reaching number 3. Pharrell went on to release singles Number 1 featuring Kanye West and That Girl featuring Snoop Dogg.
So was Pharrell ready to be a solo artist? It has to be said the jury was still out. He released his debut album, but it failed to do much in the United States. Did a bit better in Britain. He made a single with Gwen Stefani, got to number 3 in the UK, only number 48 in the States. And it was a bit of a knock to confidence of Pharrell, really, because everything he'd done up to this point had been like the King Midas effect. It was all sort of turning to gold. This was a bit disappointing, and it was I don't know if he would ever question himself, but the industry was certainly questioning, can Pharrell really cut it as a solo artist?
The album sold 142,000 copies in its first week of release. On this album, Pharrell made his solo production debut without his production partner, Chad Hugo. To date, the album has sold over 2.5 million copies.
It didn't do as well as he wanted to. He had, singles with Gwen Stefani, but it was pretty disappointing. It only reached number 48 on the charts. He just wasn't ready. His sound wasn't as evolved. He could do it for other people, but for himself, he had more to establish.
A remix album of Pharrell's solo debut In My Mind, titled Out of My Mind, was recorded with his newly formed band The Yesers, featuring Questlove of The Roots. However, Pharrell's record label, Interscope Records, did not think that the album would sell well and subsequently was shelved. The album built up a strong fan base asking for its release. The track started appearing on Questlove's MySpace, and with every 10,000 plays, a new song from the album was made available. In 2008, Pharrell and Nerd got involved in a project called the Smirnoff Project. Smirnoff brought together a wide range of hip-hop artists, including Nerd, Nas, Grandmaster Flash, and Dizzy Rascal in what was to be a truly unique hip-hop experience.
Pharrell, I want to ask you a question too, because when I was first told about what Smirnoff is doing, a lot of people, we had a lot of naysayers, like, there's another, corporate entity that's trying to get down with hip-hop, but the way they did it was very innovative and original, and they kind of, stepped out of the box and created their own lane, similar to what you've done with the Neptunes. And sonically as well as NERD. But I remember when In Search Of first came out, a lot of people, you had a lot of naysayers. People were like, man, where are they? What's wrong with them? Where are they right now? What planet are they on? And now when you fast forward, it seems like the music industry is catching up. People are doing things sonically similar to what you guys did, or they're courageous enough to step out of their own zone and experiment musically. do you recognize that at all? And what, in your opinion, what is the state of sound right now musically, especially with hip hop?
To answer the first question, I do think it's a smart angle that Smirnoff used to put this whole thing together. I'm not really big on, endorsing things or becoming, or participating in corporate agendas. I'm not into it at all. It's just that they just so happen to do the right thing. They did something that actually has a real true reflection on music, and it's more of like an exhibition. And that's what I'm into. I like it when the corporations get involved in something that that actually could inspire some sort of art form. There's checks everywhere, thank God. But doing what I do, I have to be selective. I got to make sure that, like, when I do something, that, like, the DNA of it it's the right thing. It agrees with who I am as a person and aligns, is parallel to my purpose. I know that sounds like, I know, like, a certain, everybody does. They get to a certain part in their career where they start, like, thinking about things. You start doing yoga and shit. I don't, but I really mean what I'm saying. And a lot of times you'll see, like, I think Nas has, like, I'm gonna go out on a limb here, but I think he has, like, a reputation for turning down a lot of stuff. And, like, most people, they look at it and they go, yo, he never wants to do anything. No, really what it is it's just not, it's not aligned and consistent with who he is as a person. We're artists. You guys have to understand that. So, when we're saying no, it's not because we're snobby, we think they were too good. It's that, like, A, our fans may not agree with it, and B, it may not, like, really make sense to us. It has to resonate with us. So I didn't do this because, because of the money. The money is like the third thing on the list. Does it agree with who I am as a person? Is it going to do something for the world? Yes. Okay, cool. Okay, now how much are we talking about? That's kind of like how it works. So I got involved because it was real. And again, I'm really funny about, like, wine and spirits companies about, and how they kind of, like, they approach things. So it was only one real way to do it with me, and that was to get it right. You could have just been off, like, by a centimeter off the mark, and then I could just smell that this is just like a corporate agenda. But here, I feel like this is something a little bit more philanthropic. Even though there's not, like, a direct charity, there is, like, an offering to people to see. We get to grace the stage with people like Nas and, like, Flash, and Dizzy was supposed to be here. Spank Rock, and Amanda's gonna be there too. Like, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun for us because this music, we're doing what we love to do, and the collaboration just makes it all the more better.
I've been doing this about 34 years, and my reason for doing what I do for as long as I do is because of love. It's the only answer that I have. When you love what you do, it'll take care of you for the rest of your life. This hip hop thing for me is like a relationship. Some days or some years are not great, and some years or some days are just totally, totally wonderful. I know for a fact I have abundance of knowledge, I have abundance of information, I have abundance of skills that I can share with this whole world that wants to know the actual, essence of where this hip hop comes from. And if we can just stop putting age on this thing, for one, in my opinion, and I can't speak for those that, are not able to make it, but collaborations. I think any of the old schoolers that come from my era don't want a handout. I think some of them still have the skill and the love to do this. So some of the fortunate artists, I think that, like, are established enough where it could work, make a phone call, go back and get a Grandmaster Caz or a Mel. Like, these people still have it, still. And once we can start putting the age on this, because this is one thing that's so wonderful about hip hop, is it is the only culture musically that involves so many different genres of people, ages, creeds, and colors. Pop doesn't do this, rock doesn't do this, jazz doesn't do this, funk doesn't do this, R&B doesn't do this. The community of hip hop has so many different ages, creeds, and colors of people.
And in terms of like the second part of your question concerning the sound of things, I mean, I'm kind of like all over the place. So I you know, kind of not really focus on what it's supposed to be. You make music because you really love it and you're having a good time. I mean, I did Madonna and just did Fall Out Boy like 2 weeks ago. But at the same time, it's like I'm waiting on Nas to tell me what the next step is for this. For this, we either gonna do a remix or we're gonna do a new record, or you know, it's just different things. I like doing different things. I'm happy and I feel very fortunate and blessed to be able to do what I love to do and do an array of versions of it and not just be pigeonholed into having to do a beat and, you know, and feeling like I am doomed to always have to turn the 808 up. Thank God I'm like, you know, people think of me in more than one facet. So I couldn't really say what the sound of things are because my job is to always interrupt it with something different. That's where I've always been successful. And it's a gift and a curse because sometimes you do it and they look at you funny like, okay, what you got on? Or what is that beat? Or what are you doing? But that's the job of like a leader. Sometimes we're wrong and sometimes we're incredibly right. Mm-hmm.
After collaborating with some of hip-hop's biggest names, Pharrell got back in the studio and went on to produce Beyoncé's version of Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend, which featured vocals from Pharrell and production from the Neptunes on several tracks. Pharrell continued to work with a variety of artists, including Shakira on her songs Did It Again, Why Wait, Good Stuff, and Long Time for her 6th studio album, She-Wolf. In September 2009, Pharrell was also credited as a co-writer and producer of the song Fresh Out of the Oven for Jennifer Lopez. It released as a buzz single from Lopez's 7th studio album, Love. In July 2010, Pharrell composed the soundtrack to the movie Despicable Me, produced by Hans Zimmer, and recorded with the Hollywood Studio Symphony. In October 2010, Pharrell and his group Nerd supported Gorillaz on their Escape to Plastic Beach World Tour. On the tour, Damon Albarn recorded a song with Pharrell, but it did not feature on the Gorillaz album, The Fall. The following month, Nerd released their 4th studio album titled Nothing through Pharrell's label Star Trek. The album's lead single was titled Hot and Fun. The video features Nerd driving through the desert picking up female hitchhikers in their Rolls-Royce Corniche convertible. Nelly Furtado appears singing solely in the separate scene, first in the sky, second in a bonfire. Nerd paid homage to the Beatles' Yellow Submarine and the Magical Mystery Tour, calling it a psychedelic ride. The video incorporates styles from the late 60s and early 70s. The video has received over 10 million views on Nerd's Vivo account.
All the girls want all they looking for is all they ask for is they keep wanting that. Look at you.
Pharrell went on to compose and produce music for the 84th Academy Awards alongside composer Hans Zimmer. He also collaborated with singer Miley Cyrus on her album Bangers, released in 2013. Pharrell featured on Daft Punk's fourth studio album, Random Access Memories, on the songs Get Lucky and Lose Yourself to Dance. In March 2013, Robin Thicke's hit single Blurred Lines was released, which was written and produced by Pharrell. The song was a worldwide smash hit and peaked at #1 on the Billboard Hot 100 and also reached #1 in 13 more countries, including the UK, making it Pharrell's third Billboard Hot 100 #1 single. On June 29, 2013, Pharrell became the 12th artist in the chart's history to simultaneously hold the #1 and #2 positions with Blurred Lines and Get Lucky.
Robin Thicke's hit Blurred Lines, surely the song of 2013, not to mention the video as well. Sexy stuff, sexy song, sexy video, and there was sexy Pharrell behind all of it. Of course, he wrote it, he produced it. This guy has got more fingers in more pies than the head of a pie baking company. It's absolutely extraordinary. It just seems like every hit that comes along and every award that's handed out, there's Pharrell in the background coming to the stage for another trophy, but well deserved as well. You know, that guy has got magic ears, magic fingers, he's got rhythm, he's got magic, and he was just a hit maker.
Hey girl, come here. Hey. Baby, I'm going down. Baby, I'm going blind. Baby, I'm out of my mind. Okay, now he was close. Try to domestic, but you're an animal. Hey, baby, it's in your nature. Just let me liberate. Hey. You say what? That man is not your makeup. Here we go. That's why I'm gonna take you. I know you want it. Say what? I know you want it. I know you want it. But you're a good girl. Yes, you are. Can't let it get past me. So come on. I'm talking about these blurred lines.
And I've got to tell you, this was a global hit, #1, 13 different countries all at once. And if you take a look at the video, it's simple. It's in like a white background, but it's guys, it's half-naked girls, and it's pretty sexy.
In November 2013, Pharrell released the first 24-hour music video to his Despicable Me 2 collaboration song, Happy. Guest appearances included Magic Johnson, Steve Carell, Jimmy Kimmel, Jamie Foxx, and many others. It received approximately 5.5 million views on Christmas Day 2013. The music video was also nominated for Best Male Video and Video of the Year at the 2014 MTV Video Music Awards.
Look, it's not a collaboration if you're not learning anything. It's just, when you're not learning anything, you're just kind of showing up, being who you are and thinking you know everything. But the best thing about a collaboration for me is the education. And I've learned so much about like my craft. I've learned so much about this craft, the art of making a film, the art of keeping people captivated, the art of never having a distraction, just like a through line, this curated roller coaster ride. These guys are geniuses at that. And at the forefront of what they believe, or let's say the fulcrum of what they believe that works, is the idea that when you make your work or you complete your work, it should be about people, not demographics. That's for the marketing company to worry about. They don't go into it thinking, well, we're going to get, 18 to 35, people that smoke. They don't think that way. They think, you know what? Humans. We want them to see our film and walk away touched. And I can't tell you how much it's been for me. I feel like I'm in high school. The first Despicable Me was 10th grade. Now I'm in 11th grade. And looks like we might make it into the yearbook this year. We've been nominated for the yearbook. So it's incredible. And it's a lesson that, quite honestly, has just changed me across the board. Even in my home life. I realized that, you do things once if you do it right. And you can go and do something else. But it's only when,
It's only when like you're compartmentalizing things is when you get compartmentalized results. And these guys they're doing it. Illumination they're doing it. And these guys deserve to be here tonight, Chris and Janet, and I am honored to present this award. And I really honestly believe that, like, you know, Chris really is a visionary, and so is Janet. And you know what? I think the PGA got that. I think they got it right this year.
I think Pharrell's greatest solo moment came with the song Happy, which he contributed to the soundtrack of Despicable Me 2. It was an Oscar-nominated song, and apart from the fact that it just makes you happy to listen to it, it's also intriguing what he did with the video for this. He created the first ever 24-hour video. Yes, if you go on YouTube and watch this, if you've got a complete day to waste. I can't say I've spent the entire 24 hours watching it. At least 50 people I know are in this video because they got so many people for volunteering to be in it. Where was Michael? But anyway, yeah, you go to YouTube and the song plays on a constant loop, but there's all this action, people dancing in front of the camera and being happy. I remember when he performed that song on the Oscars in February 2014. You know, he was very much like the king of the room. Everybody loved him. Everybody loved the song, apart from the people voting, because he lost Best Motion Picture Song to a song from Frozen. Sorry, Pharrell, can't win them all, but I'm sure an Oscar's in his future.
Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because
But he did something really cool with the video. He made a 24-hour video. So if you look at the top of the hour, you're always going to see Pharrell in different situations singing the song. But the other minutes throughout each hour on the clock are done by different people, lip-syncing and dancing and having fun through the streets of Los Angeles.
I didn't know how it was going to play out. We didn't know. All we knew is that, like, we were excited that we were, you know, able to put that kind of music in a film like that was going to be a blockbuster. You know, I just looked at that like as such a vehicle to try and, you know, put some more different music out, you know, to make my contribution. It was humbling. It was an incredible feeling. I couldn't believe anything that I ever did could, you know, get that kind of attention, and it was just humbling to see it happen the way it did, because I had written like 9 songs before it, trying to get the scene right for like this pivotal moment in the film that I was blessed with the opportunity to try and write something for. So it was like, you know, I had to get it right, and it kept pushing me. The movie came out with the movie's done like $1 billion. The song hadn't done anything. And so we didn't know what was gonna happen, but we just felt compelled to like still, you know, shoot a video for it, you know, put a visual and put a visual out, and it was just crazy to see how it happened. It was crazy. It was a crazy feeling. It takes the magic out of it, you know, when you discuss what you're doing. What, you know, I know a lot of journalists ask those questions, but I find that, like, I, as a fan, I love when, like, you know, an artist that I'm into, when they just drop something, you know, when there's too much like talking and like explaining and stuff, that's when it's like, it's too much. A song, you should just hear it and it should arrest you. You know, everyone's has their own interpretation of it, and we've just been so blessed to be able to watch and see, you know, everyone's, you know, a lot of people's feelings, and, you know, them dancing with no inhibitions and just being joyous. Their videos are all so much better than mine, so it's awesome.
In December 2013, it was announced that Pharrell had been nominated for 7 Grammy Awards, including Producer of the Year. In the same month, a press release from Columbia Records announced that Pharrell had signed a contract with the label and would be releasing an album in 2014 titled Girl, featuring the single Happy from the Despicable Me 2 soundtrack. Pharrell was also nominated for an Academy Award for Best Original Song for Happy, and he went on to win Producer of the Year at the 2014 Grammy Awards. In late 2013, Pharrell married his longtime girlfriend, Helen Lazasham. They have a son, Rocket Williams, born in November 2008. The Despicable Me song Rocket's theme was written in honor of his son.
So what a catch for the ladies is Pharrell. Well, the woman who captured his heart is Helen Lassichan. Their child, Rocket, adorable little boy, was born in 2008, and he put a ring on it in 2013. That's when he made Helen Mrs. Williams. And in the rocky, stormy world of show business, you know, she's sort of right beside him as a constant support. They have a great relationship, and they're a happy family, and a very attractive couple.
To top off a fantastic year for Pharrell, he went on to win GQ's Hitmaker of the Year award.
Okay. Firstly, I want to say thank you to God. And if you don't subscribe to that, I would just suggest it's okay to believe in something bigger than ourselves, even if it's just the mathematics of existence. It's okay to be appreciative. I just want to say thank you. Secondly, to the folks over at GQ, Dylan and Joe, all the ladies, and Rosie, I'm sweating. And my family, my team, Ron Lafitte, Karen Veazey, my Helen, my little son Rocket. All of these people, you're not gonna get this on tape, so I'm gonna say this fast before it happens. All of these people are an enormous motivational force in my life. They keep me going, the reason why I wake up every day and just go so hard. And at the end of the day, I do it for them, and at the same time, I'm only as good as the opportunities that are presented to me by the robots, Daft Punk, the Robin Thicks, my brother JT. Without these people, I wouldn't have got the opportunity to be here today. So I'm accepting this award with all those incredible people and all those opportunities that they've given me in mind. So thank you, and I'm gonna get off the stage now.
She's up all night to get some. I'm up all night to get some. She's up all night for good fun.
In early 2015, Nerd was reunited in the studio, producing their first new music in 5 years. Following his colossal Grammy and Academy Award-nominated success with the tune Happy, Pharrell teamed up with his one-time collaborators to create songs for the upcoming 3D SpongeBob movie. Nerd came up with 3 new songs for the SpongeBob movie, the first of which, Squeeze Me, an up-tempo Caribbean-inspired number, was officially made available in January 2015.
The folks at Nickelodeon afforded us an opportunity for me to express my love for SpongeBob, and just how it makes me laugh, and there's nothing better than a bowl of cereal at 2 in the morning and watching a SpongeBob marathon. To me that's joy. The idea of collaborating with SpongeBob is just such an honor.
He's responsible for producing some of the biggest hits over the past 2 decades. He's worked alongside superstars such as Justin Timberlake, Madonna, Britney Spears, Jay-Z, Usher, and many more. His impact on the music scene is almost unprecedented. And having recently been nominated for an Academy Award, it seems Pharrell Williams will continue to be a dominant force within the music industry.
What does the future have in store for Pharrell Williams? I think he's going to be president of the United States. Nothing can stop this guy. Everything he's put his mind to, he has achieved. The sky is the absolute limit. And I, for one, will be voting for President Williams.
So Pharrell has established himself as the producer to go to in the industry, but you can see that his solo career is also really taking off. I think that we're going to see him get an Academy Award for Best Original Song at some point in his career, and maybe he and his wife will finally have another baby.
Yeah, I'm a big kid. I mean, that's obvious. I mean, hello? I'm a big kid, for sure. But I mean, you know what? I think a lot of people are. And I think when people just try and act like there's no inner child, like there's always like, there's some issues in there somewhere. Because who doesn't want to be happy?